See, that's why we have to start early for this thing. 'Cause it's here we go. And no, neither one of them have come back yet.
I haven't heard a ding yet.
Oh, there they are. Yeah, they're on. Yay! Hello, Facebook and
dings.
YouTube. Give it a second. Give it a second. It's almost there.
Almost.
Wow, you still haven't heard it?
No, no ding.
Jeez, that's
unusual.
Yeah.
The thing usually dings pretty quickly. Well, you've got confirmation, so.
Yeah, I've got both. Both of
I
them.
got everything's on too. I just checked.
1 minute until showtime.
Wow.
Well, that is just odd.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if that's not a good sign.
Yeah, maybe not. They should get a ding right away. Is Spotify a pay site, or because I'm getting emails from Spotify, which I just joined, saying you can do 90 days free, and I think it might be an upgrade type thing, but I don't know. So, I thought Spotify was free, but I'm getting this.
I think you can get on it, but let me go to Facebook. I think you can get on it, but I don't know if you still haven't dinged yet.
No, I haven't. I haven't got a ding at all.
All right, let me go back to. Nope, it's on. Facebook shows we've been on for 1 minute and 47 seconds. So
let me go to Facebook here.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4,
I forgot my
3, 2,
there it is.
1.
Oh my gosh, I just switched out of folders.
Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, here we go. Never had that happen.
This is All About Wine, the talk show dedicated to the wine industry since 2009. Featuring winemaker, cellar master, vineyardist, and tasting expert, Ron.
Basically, what we're trying to do on this program is just trying to educate people and trying to make wine less confusing and more friendly.
From coast to coast and around the world.
You know, we really have had some neat people on the program. I love that.
Post your questions and comments during the live show on our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/allaboutwinebtr. Again, that's www.facebook.com/allaboutwinebtr. And now, All About Wine is on. Here's Ron.
There we are. 7:01.
Yeah, I'm live here. I'm seeing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm live here. It came.
Yeah.
It popped on. Well, where is it now? Yeah, it popped on. Well, it says 1 minute ago. So.
Oh, mine was almost 2 minutes when I was on it. Okay. Yeah. Well, and here we are.
So we're yeah. It never dinged though. Why didn't it ding? That's unusual. All right, we're here live, All About Wine. Yeah. It is April the 21st, 2022. Oh no, 2020, not 2000. 2020, yeah, 2022. And it is 7:02. It just clicked over. So if you're listening to us live and you want to ask questions or anything, then go to the chat room on Facebook or Blog Talk Radio, any of those. Mike will be right there, standing by.
Standing by, as always. Ready
standing by. Yeah. And so he can transfer it over. We'll answer your questions on the air and pass it on. If it's something we can't, we will research it and get it for you.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Earth Day. I don't know if you all are aware of that. Tomorrow is Earth Day, and it's cool. I mean, the Earth is still here. Which is always nice. Wake up in the morning, look outside, and say, "Oh, good, we still got Earth." So I don't know how long that will last, though, the way we treat it. But tomorrow is Earth Day. It started in what, 1967, 1968. somewhere around there. And they have all sorts of events and celebrations and stuff going on all over for Earth Day. Some, I don't know, it died down for a while there back in the 80s, early 90s. Earth Day died down, but then it picked back up again. So we got Earth Day today or tomorrow, and let me see. Let me pull out my little calendar here if I can get through my stack of junk here and find out what else we have that is coming up this next week. Okay, April. Earth Day is tomorrow. National Talk Like Shakespeare Day is Saturday. You can say things like forsooth and verily into the conversation. Let's see. Monday, Kiss and Makeup Day. Always present a bottle of wine for your Kiss and Makeup Day. Tuesday, National South Dakota Day. And I think this is South Dakota Wine Month, too, so that works well. Wednesday, National Babe Ruth Day, and then Thursday is Stop Food Waste Day and National Take Your Son and Daughter to Work Day. So you get those to look up to. And the next Friday is National Arbor Day. So you plant a tree. Earth Day today and Arbor Day next week. That's always a good thing. So that's what's coming up. And I don't think there was any wine holidays in there. That's unusual. April's a slow month for wine holidays, though, so that doesn't surprise me. Oh, I was wrong. International Cava Day is Saturday, and Sunday Sauvignon Blanc Day. And then Wednesday, Marseillon. That's what I have for Marseillon. Marselan. I'll have to punch that into my wine calendar here, or my wine directory site here, and see what that is. Marseillon. Hang on, let me find out. Where is it? Here we go. Wine grapes. Let's search grapes. M-A-R. Oh, Marseillon. There it is. Okay, Marseillon is a recent crossing between two famous red grapes, a Grenache and Cabernet Sauvignon. The highly regarded crossing is now found in niche pockets across the globe, from China to Uruguay, with its roots firmly in the Languedoc and Provence regions of southern France. Wines made from Marseillon are medium-bodied with fine tannins, good color, and characteristics of cherry and cassis. It was bred in 1961 by the French National Institute for Agricultural Research. After which the grape was named. So it was done in the named after the station of the French research in Marseillon, and so they named the grape Marseillon. The objective of this breeding program was to create a high-yielding varieties with large berries. Its natural resistance to mildew and botrytis, small berry size meant that it was shelved at the time and revisited in 1990 when they brought it out and started to produce it. Mostly using IGP wines. What is IGP? Let's find out that. IGP is Indication of Geographic Protégé, a quality category in France. Okay, there you go. So mostly using IGP wines. And it is growing mainly in France, 35%, but also Uruguay, Israel, Spain, Brazil, Romania, China, and a little bit in other countries. Doesn't say United States here, so it's not one of our most popular grapes, obviously. It's used for blending and a lot of southern France staples, and it's also found in parts of Spain, used for blending, and it's a variety that has a foothold in China, where it is used a lot in the province of Hebei, or Hebei, Hebei, which is near Beijing. So, next Wednesday, we have Marcellin wines, a Marcellin wine day. And the prices range anywhere on this list from $14 on up to, here's one for $46. And I'm sure they can go a little bit higher than, oh, here's one for $7, and here's go up to 52. So you can get pretty much any price range you want, but you're not going to find any from the United States because they probably don't have any varietal. So that is coming up on Wednesday, Marcellin Day. All right. Let's see. Any other announcements before we get into the show? I don't think so. We've got ourselves a stack of guests that we're working on, so we may have ourselves some guests through May and hopefully into June. We've got quite a few here, so it looks like we may have ourselves a whole stack of guests. Most notably, some guests from England. We are working with a lady from England who is booking us some wineries there. So stay tuned. We will have some interesting guests on coming up in the future, not to mention that we have interesting news for you now. So you don't need to wait until later. All right. Let's see. What's the first thing we want to talk about here? Let's talk about Pinotage, the South African wine, grape and wine Pinotage. It has been around for some time, and I had an article on it here, and I thought it was interesting. The Pinotage is a love it or hate it type thing. I've had some Pinotages which I just thought was, oh my gosh, this is just fantastic. This is a great grape, and this is a great wine, and I'm going to love this. And then I buy another one, and I go, oh gosh, why did I ever love this to begin with? And then I get another one, and it's like, I love this again. So it's a hybrid between a Pinot Noir and a Cinsault, and it's grown almost exclusively in South Africa. I don't think there's any other countries that do much of it. I'll tell you what, while I'm looking at my grape varieties, why don't we look up Pinotage here on this and see where it is growing. Pinotage, there it is. And it says that 98% in South Africa, 1% in Israel, 1% in USA, and then 0.33% in New Zealand, 0.08 in Brazil, 0.07 in Germany, 0.04 in Canada, and 0.04 other places. So pretty much South Africa. It's the signature grape of South Africa. It's like I said, it's a crossbreeding of Pinot Noir and Cinsault back by a scientist, Abraham Perold, in 1925. Wow. So it has been around for a while. So let's go back to Pinotage here and see what we have to say here. So there's other grapes that are grown in South Africa, obviously, besides just Pinotage. Pinotage is one of them, but they do a lot of them there. Malbec, Sauvignon Blanc, and different ones, Shiraz. But Pinotage is the signature grape there. The Malbec and Sauvignon Blanc really is our Malbec from Argentina. When you think of grapes, Sauvignon Blanc, New Zealand, Syrahs, Australia, Pinotage is the grape associated with South Africa. But it has been, I don't know, bad, I guess bad press on it. Just hasn't really caught on a lot. You don't hear a lot about it. And it's one that is, well, it varies so much. Like I said, I've had some that have been great, and I've had some that have been just horrible. And I think that's been the problem with Pinotage. And so they're trying to reintroduce, if you will, reinvent. I hate that when people say I've reinvented myself, but you can do that to wine. I think they're trying to reinvent it. It's a new day, if you will, for Pinotage. And it's starting to get away from the overly lush, ripe, sweet type stuff that Pinotage has been, and it's starting to show a little bit more character and a little bit more tannins and the acid and stuff like that. So because of that, Pinotage is starting to pick up a little bit. It's not the old style so much. The Pinotage Association was established in 1995 to improve the grape's reputation, but the organization just sort of like, okay, whatever you want to make, this is what you do. And they've, let wineries run away with it, whatever they want. They do have a Pinotage Day, which is the second Saturday in October every year. But the Pinotage itself, the wine itself, has really grown up, if you will. The average Pinotage is better than it was 20 years ago, and it's also got a lot more character to it. This is, they say it's the third planting of the grape in Africa, in South Africa. And because of that, it is starting to be more mature, starting to show a lot more of its character. They're pruning it earlier in the winter months, removing the excess shoots, and really coming up with a hardier grape that has shown its structure and its overall balance. So this has improved the grape over the last 10 years or so. And because of that, it's starting to become more widely accepted, more widely talked about, and more widely sold everywhere, not just in South Africa, but it's being sold everywhere. So Pinotage, like I said, I've had them. I haven't had one in, it's been 3 or 4 years. Whenever I speak of timelines too, COVID pops in there and just throws that gap right in the middle of there that you didn't do anything. So when I say 3 or 4 years, probably been 4 or 5 years because of the COVID gap, which drives you crazy, obviously. But there are a lot of good Pinotage out there. Here's a list of some of them here that getting some, 93, 92 points, a lot of 91 and 90. And these are ranging in price from $15 up to $55. So it's a good range there and a good price to fit everyone's budget. So go out and find yourself a Pinotage, South African Pinotage. There's some great ones out there. Spear, S-P-I-E-R, 2019 Signature Collection. That's from the Western Cape. That's only $14, and it's listed as a Best Buy. Here's another Best Buy, a Warwick 2019, the First Lady Pinotage. So these are reasonably priced wines. If you want to go on up into a 93 rating, and this is from the Wine Enthusiast, 93 rating is the Belslar, Beeslaar, Belslar 2019 Pinotage. That's $55, and everything in between. So I'm going to have to go out and get myself a Pinotage. You guys do it too. Give it a try, because they really have improved them and taken the basic Pinotage that we were so used to, being light and fruity, and toughened it up, I guess is a good way to put it. Okay, let me go and to the next thing I want to talk about here. Oh, Pinotage. I'm still looking at that. Okay. New sweetness. There we go. This is something. Alsace wines are putting out a new standardized sweetness guide. And this is going to be required on all Alsace wine labels. A guide on wine to tell you the sweetness level, I think, has always been a good idea. Canada does this, and I think Canada has changed and has their standards now. But Canada came out and says, okay, we're going to have this guide here. One's going to be not sweet at all, two a little bit sweeter, on up to 5 as the sweetest. I think 5 was the top. But when it came out, I don't think they had any standards, because I taste some Canadian wines that was a 5, and they were not real, well, they were real sweet, but then I taste one that was a 2, and that was very, very sweet also. And I think because people like sweet wines, they sort of hedged their numbers to try to get people to buy it. They have a standard of sweetness now, and you can't fool people. So it is what it is now on the sweetness, and that's what it is. Well, Alsace has came out with a guide too, and they said this is to help clarify the pinpoint the sweetness levels of the wines that come from the bottle. This is from the Alsace vintage of 2021 onward. This is going to be the standard that you're going to see on all the bottles now. And the labeling law was officially passed in May 2021, but the harvest didn't happen until September to October, so the new labels won't appear on the shelves yet. But the next batch of labels from Alsace will be on the shelf. And it's a sweetness label. Now, not all Alsace wines are sweet, and this is something that some people tend to think that they are, and they are not. So this is what they're trying to help clarify on this also. Wine producers have 2 options of how they do it. They can indicate it on the content of it by words, or they can have a little chart. They can have sec, S-E-C, which is dry, demi-sec, which is off-dry, Moelleux, or I think it's pronounced Moelleux, M-O-E-L-L-E-U-X, which is medium sweet, and Doux, D-O-U-X, which is sweet. Now, they can put these on the label, and it sort of reminds you of champagne a little bit, doesn't it? I mean, the way that they label those, but it's, it helps. Or they can put a little line chart with those 4 categories and a little arrow of where the sweetness level falls. But it's not just a made-up sweetness level, okay? The 4 categories are defined by a European Union model that also takes into account the tartaric acid as well as the sugar, because the balance between the residual sugar and acid in wine is essential, especially for the white wines that they're putting out, because the level of acidity plays a part in its sweetness level. So when they do these numbers, they factor in both the acid and the sweetness. So the new guideline is defined as one in which the sugar content of the wine does not exceed 4 grams per liter. So a medium dry or demi-sec wine contains a sugar content of between 4 grams a liter and 12 grams a liter. The mellow or mellow, I think it's pronounced. There you go. Thank you, article. Mellow wines have a sugar content of between 12 grams a liter and 45 grams a liter. That's pretty high, I thought, when I first read this. And then sweet or dough wines feature a sugar content in excess of 45 grams per liter. So those are the standards. They have to be in that. And it's going to apply to advertising, marketing materials, invoices, any of the containers, as well as wine labels. So whatever they use, that they need to use in all of them to show all the time what it is. And I'm sure vintages might change or how they work with it and all that, but this is your basic guidelines here. And they hope that it's going to be useful to like sommeliers who are trying to provide pairing for dinner and stuff like that. And it could also help the Alsace Rieslings in the sweetness style, because they're all not sweet. Some of them are dry, and so people won't pick up. It's like Rieslings itself. I found at the winery, people go, oh, I love a Riesling. I like that sweetness. Well, Rieslings aren't always sweet. There's a lot of dry Rieslings. And so this will show people on the label immediately that just because it says Riesling, it is not going to be a sweet wine. So, new guideline for Alsace. Okay. NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Fungible, I think it's pronounced, isn't it? Non-fungible tokens. Wineries are looking at using that. Now, NFTs, I'm sure you've heard of NFTs. Here in Florida, not in the Bay Area here, a house went up for sale for NFTs. And it's representing the purchase of an asset on the blockchain, serving as a digital receipt for the purchase. So there's nothing there. Bitcoin is probably the most famous NFT, but there are lots and lots of them out there. And Bitcoin is probably I think one of the first ones, and they're jumping all over, but there's lots of other NFTs out there, non-fungible tokens. And they go through the cloud and stored in the cloud, and there's no paperwork or anything, and all that's just, computer. But they're not regulated at all. And that's why people like them, because they're not regulated. And people say, well, this is the currency of the future. Well, I just saw something a couple days ago that China, was it China? I'm pretty sure it was China, is looking at doing some regulations on NFTs, on Bitcoins and stuff like that. Well, if they start doing regulations on it, that's pretty much money. It doesn't give you something new and interesting in the NFTs. It just, with regulations on it, it's just money and what we do now. But as of right now, they haven't adapted the money. So it's evolving to the point where it's increasing demand and it's disrupting innovations. I mean, one of the most disruptive innovations that, in my lifetime, I remember. But the potential is yet to be seen. I mean, what they're going to do with it and all that. Now, the reason I bring up NFTs is wineries are looking at taking Bitcoins and NFTs for higher priced bottles. It's possible to see rare bottlings being minted and sold only as NFTs. Who knows? Some of the wines sell for hundreds of dollars. Even some of the older ones, thousands. You get collector items, and you're looking at thousands of dollars, and NFTs would work for that. So, traditionally NFTs are minted from digital files, and doing that, it's not going to be anything that's going to be on paper. It's all going to be in the cloud, blockchains, and stuff like that. And another thing with NFTs, which I think people are going to start regulating and all that, the type of computer power it takes to continuously run the non-fungible tokens is enormous. It uses up a lot of energy, which is not green. I mean, people say, oh, this is really a green way to do money. It isn't. The computers and the blockchain and all that is a tremendous amount of energy is used on that. So this might be something that is going to be regulated and looked at in the future. But as of right now, it is going to start being used for different wineries for sale some of their items and all that. They are looking at. I haven't heard of any winery that's doing it full time, although I've seen little bits here and there that Napa is looking at, Bitcoin, or Napa is looking at NFTs and stuff. But Napa is a big place. That's like saying, grocery stores are looking at doing something. I mean, it's just, there's so many. So as I start seeing things happening here, I will let you know about that stuff. But if you bought Bitcoin back 10 years ago, you're a millionaire now. I mean, when it first came out, it just exploded, and you are a millionaire now. Getting it now is iffy, and if they start regulating it, it's going to be just like money, and it's going to lose its appeal, I believe. So, again, I'll try to keep you informed on what wineries are doing with that. I expect them to do it. I expect some of them to do it, but we'll see what's going to happen on all those. Excuse me. I saw something in the San Francisco Chronicle what day was this in there? Monday. That caught my eye. This was on the front page of the paper of the San Francisco Chronicle. And I told you I get the Chronicle to look at wineries and stuff. But this is something that really caught my eye. It says the headline was "Wineries Struggle with Serial Lawsuits." And I go, what? And the subheadline was "Florida Man Targets Website's Accessibility." Okay, now they're talking about this one winery, Reed Family Vineyards in Napa. And there is a Reed, what was it? Reed's Livery and Winery in Kentucky, I think it was, that was on our show. So this is different. This is not the ones we interviewed. But Reed Family Vineyards in Napa paid $8,000 to settle a lawsuit by a Florida man who alleged that the vineyard's website failed to meet federal accessibility standards. And I went, what? What's the website federal accessibility? So I did some research on this, and I found, where is it? Oh, no. I found a couple of things. One, that it's really not clear in the American with Disabilities Act of what should be accessible for people with disabilities on websites. So they are now referring to what they call WCAG, which is short for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And this is in 2.0, it says here. This WCAG documents itself and the concept of how people should be doing it. And it's goes on a different thing. But the four basic principles that they go by is perceivable. Information in users' interface components must be presentable to users in ways they can perceive. Okay, it can't be invisible to all the senses. Operable. Users' interface components and navigation must be operable. That means that users must be able to operate it and work around on the platform. Understandable. Information and the operation of user interface must be understandable. And robust. Content must be robust enough that it can be interpreted reliably by a wide variety of user agents, including assistive technologies. Okay, now this is the standard that they're going by, but this is not written into the Americans with Disabilities Act. I started to search and I found that this popped up, these lawsuits popped up back in 1917 in New York. New York wineries were being sued because they weren't compliant to the ADA. And it said plaintiffs are seeking injunction relief on their ADA claim and an order requiring the wineries to take all steps necessary to make their websites compliant with the ADA. And I'm going, well, but what it basically boils down to is people with bad eyesight, people who can't read or can't see well enough to read it, is complaining because it's not ADA compliant. I know. There's that creates all sorts of stuff, but they're winning though. They're winning these lawsuits, and it's not a lot. This is the thing. Reed Winery, which I just told you about, settled for $8,000. They said, here's $8,000. Don't bother me anymore. And so that was into that. This started out with a law firm back in 17 in New York State, and they was the one that was doing the lawsuits against the wineries. They were being settled for $12,000, $15,000, $18,000, $25,000. Not a lot. The wineries figured that if they tried to take it to court, it was too much money that they would end up spending over $8,000 or something. Reed's even said that. He said he checked into the cost of battling this and found that it would probably end up costing him $25,000, $30,000. So he just went ahead and settled for $8,000. And most wineries are doing that. And this happened back in New York in 1917, 1918. Most of the wineries were settling for a lot less than it would cost them if they were to go ahead and try to fight it. And then it stopped, and now it's picking up again in California. There are all sorts of wineries in California that are being sued, actually over 50 of them that are being hit with disability lawsuits. And it says that it's not a fix your website thing because it's already been filed. They're not letting them know first that they need to come up to ADA standards for being able to read the site. What's happening is they're being sued, and that's the first they hear about it. So this is another, BS thing, I think. Napa wineries and Sonoma wineries have been sued. Jackson Family Wines, Gregich Hills Estate, Plum Jack Wine Company, Red Car Wine Company, Foley Family Estates, all these have been sued because they are not up to ADA standards. Vintage Wine Estates, which owns 37 wineries has opted to settle. He says it's just too expensive to fight them. Well, the lawyers that are handling the cases for the wineries are saying, yes, it is. It's too expensive to fight them. We can't do it. But the other, well, I'm going to say other lawyers, not for the ones that's following, but the ones that are district attorneys and different ones like this around the area said that they really do need to look at fighting it. They need to get a group of them together. A decade ago, a defendant might expect to settle for $5,000 to $10,000, but now it's typically going up to $15,000 to $25,000, and in some areas, $15,000 to $45,000. Now, this is for a website case. I mean, oh my gosh, it just, and basically it's because it's not made so that they can navigate it and read it easy. I had a cousin who was legally blind. He could still see, but he was legally blind. And he had a great big magnifying screen that he set in front of his computer screen so that he can read everything on it. And that's the only way he can do it. And the thought of suing because it did not comply to the Americans with Disabilities Act never occurred to him. And I think if it did, he would have, because he was that type of person. But this is, this is ridiculous in my opinion, because it's going to be passed on to us consumers. And that's all that's going to happen. I mean, the wineries can't absorb this stuff. And so it's just, it's going to continue on. But it started in New York, 3-4 years ago. Now it's hitting Napa and Sonoma counties. And it's getting out of hand, this stuff I hear. And the lawyer's office that is handling this stuff is located in San Diego. And the San Francisco Chronicle tried to contact the lawyer firm, ask them questions, and they would not talk with them and would not return their calls. And so, I don't know. It's just, you know the story. If I see anything else on it, I will let you know. But I expect this is going to continue until they clarify completely the ADA and stop this stuff. They said that the serial ADA lawsuits targeting a specific industry are not new. The San Francisco attorney, a couple of attorneys, Mr. Butler and Mr. Mitchell, excuse me, who specialize in ADA compliance, said that the courts and the publics are losing patience with this stuff. And it says that because of all these little ADA complaints, it's taking up 25 to 30% of the district court's civil suit caseload. Well, that's a lot. I mean, think about that, 25 to 30%. So it's, things like, some of them tasting rooms. It's architectural barriers that they've been sued for. Like they'll have a gravel parking lot, which is, not wheelchair accessible. They don't have an entry ramp to all of them, which is not wheelchair accessible. And there's lots of other little things. I've never read the ADA, but using those things is so full of, legalese work that you wouldn't understand most of it anyway. But this is what's going on. And this is the reason I'm telling you this too. It's going to affect us because we buy wine, and we buy Napa wine, or we buy Sonoma wine, or even New York. I'm sure their prices went up because of that. When we buy wine, it's because of these lawsuits, what's affecting us. So, but if I see anything more about this stuff, I will let you know. Okay. about 3 weeks ago, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was about 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, I mentioned something to you about Mexican wine, not New Mexico, but Mexico. And I said that I would look it up. Well, I did. And oh my gosh, I was amazed and overwhelmed at how well Mexican wine really does. This was an eye opener for me. Mexican wines is on the rise. It's becoming very, very popular, and because it is something that's been around forever, the Spanish brought over clippings when they discovered Mexico and defeated the Aztecs and took over the country, and they planted planted grapes from Spain, and the grapevines did very well, and the Spanish grapevines did well here in what they called New Spain or Mexico. And by the 17th century, wine exports from Spain to the New World fell to almost nothing because they were doing so well with growing grapes and making wine. And that did not set well with Charles II of Spain, the ruler, in 1699. So he made it illegal to make wine in Mexico, except for the church purposes. So for many, many years, there was no wine made in Mexico except for just the small scale wineries and a few people who did it illegally, which you always find those. But when Mexico got its independence from Spain, there all of a sudden started to rise in the use or into making of wines. And they have been doing it, except for a few glitches like the Mexican Revolution set back the production. But wine in Mexico has been rising both quality and quantity since the 1980s. So it is really new. But competition from foreign wines and a 40% tax on wines made in the country have really hurt the Mexican wine industry. Mexico itself is not a wine drinking country. So this is something that has also put a damper, if you will, on Mexican wines. Mexico prefers beers, tequila, mezcal, and wine is just sort of a tourist thing, and also used in some of the big cities and restaurants and stuff like that. But production has picked up, and the wineries have picked up, and the quality has picked up over the last 20, well, more than that, over the last 30 years. And in 2020, the Don Leo Gran Reserva Cabernet Sauvignon won a gold medal at International Cabernet Competition and the trophy for the world's best Cabernet, which basically put them on the map. It was like their Judgment in Paris type moment. And so they've been doing it ever since. There are 3 wine producing regions in Mexico. The biggest and most is the Baja California. Now, if you're not familiar, Baja California is south of San Diego, Tijuana, and on down into the peninsula. And they produce like 90% of Mexican wines. And one of the problems too in that area, and they would probably get more tourists, but Tijuana is such a crime-ridden drug area that people are afraid to drive through that area to go down to the wine regions. They said that the wine regions themselves are pretty much crime-free, but the Tijuana and the route to the wine areas are so crime-ridden that it really has cut off the possibilities of. Well, my engineer just brought me in a wine with the show getting late. Well, let me tell you what this is here. This is a 1924 limited edition, double black, aged in this. I thought I saw this aged in oak or bourbon barrels. A 2019 Cabernet Sauvignon from Lodi, California, from Gnarly Head Wines. You all have probably seen Gnarly Head out there. This is one of theirs. And it said 1924, the heart of the Prohibition era and wine's darkest hour when it was deemed illegal. It was also the year of our winery first planted vineyards in California and farmed grapes that were sold to friends and neighbors. Story goes some of these grapes might have been used to make wine. For those that dared to toil in the black market of winemaking, full-bodied red wines were the wine of choice and a crowd favorite at speakeasies across the country. This is crafted from the finest fruit grown in the select Lodi vineyards. Our 1924 Cabernet Sauvignon delivers dark, rich flavors of blackberries and currants with a hint of vanilla spice, balanced with velvety tannin and a style reminiscent of the Prohibition era. I've never had a wine from the Prohibition era, so I really can't tell you if it's in that style or not. I might be old, but I'm not quite that old. Okay, let's see what this is like. A nice garnet color. Rather dark too. Geez, you can't see my fingers through the glass to the wine. That's usually my indication of how dark a wine is. And let's see what the legs look like for those of you who are ones who like legs. Oh yeah, very nice legs. And those slow-moving, thick legs. Oh, that's nice. Oh, a very nice aroma too. I can detect blackberries. I'm not picking up any vanilla, like I said. I wish I could, because that's always like that, vanilla in a wine, but no vanilla in this. Oh, good currant blackberry aroma. Oh, that is very good. Never judge one on your first sip, always on your second. Oh, that is very well balanced. Just enough acid in it to fill the mouth, but the tannins are well balanced. It's not overly heavy. It's got some nice dark fruit flavors to it. I do get the hint of the vanilla in the aftertaste. Oh, this is delicious. Yeah, it is. Very good wine. 1924 limited edition, double black, 2019 vintage Cabernet Sauvignon from Lodi, made by Gnarly Head. You've probably seen Gnarly Head bottles out there. This is very good. Very, very good. So we have to pour ourselves some of this to finish up the show here. Okay. So we were talking about Mexican wine. Baja Peninsula is the area where most of them are produced. 90% of the wines come from that area. There is a valley there. Well, wait a minute. There's the tourism is eno-tourism with the Ruta del Vino, which means wine route. And it connects over 50 wineries in that area. 50 wineries in that area. Jeez. And they also have all sorts of festivals and all sorts of things going on there all the time, almost throughout the year. Wine consumption is picking up there in Mexico. excuse me, although it is still really, really low. The average wine consumption per capita is about 2 glasses a year. 2 glasses a year. Geez, I go through that in an evening. Mexican government imposes a 40% tax per bottle. And so it's almost impossible for the wine industry to compete with the beer and tequila. Although it's growing. Since 2005, it has nearly quadrupled, 4 times higher now than it was in 2005. So it is picking up. Most of the wine consumed in Mexico is imported from Europe too, Chile, Australia, New Zealand, with about 40% coming from domestic wineries. Although the middle class is starting to drink more in Mexico, they're starting to discover wines, and restaurants are now carrying Mexican wines. That, for a while there, restaurants wouldn't touch it. Now you go into just about any restaurant, from high-end, sophisticated restaurants down to a smaller one that does carry wine, and you will find Mexican wines in them. So it is something that is really starting to catch on in the country. The tariffs that they used to have has been dropped. Wine drinking is not widespread in Mexico, but brandy is. Consumption of brandy is really high. It's the most widespread distilled liquor in Mexico. And it's even more popular than rum or tequila. Go figure, I mean, if you will. Mexico is the 4th largest consumer of brandy in the world, behind, and I'm going to give you these other 3, and you're going to go, what? I did when I read them. The Philippines is number 1 on brandy consumption. Germany is number 2. And Equatorial Guinea is number 3. What? Yeah. So, last Mexican tariff on imported brandy was lifted back at the 2000 or early 2000s, and so they expect the sales and consumption to rise because of the lower tariffs. There's 6,200 acres, or 2,500 hectares, planted in grapes in Mexico, which, you get about that much just in Napa alone, almost. Principal white wines coming out of Mexico: Chenin Blanc, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and Viognier. And the reds include all 5 of the Bordeaux varietals, which is Cabernet, Merlot, come on, my brain, Pinot Noir, I don't know, and the other 2. Plus Grenache, Tempranillo, Dolcetto, Syrah, and Petit Syrah. So these are the grapes that you're going to find in Mexico. 3 wine-growing regions in Mexico, Baja Peninsula being the biggest, Baja Sonora, and La Laguna area is in Chihuahua and Durango, and the third one consists of Zacatecas, Agua Calientes, and Cuatero. And for all of you Mexicans out there, I apologize for destroying those names. There is one valley that is in the La Laguna region. It's the oldest winemaking area of Mexico, and it straddles the state of Coahuila and Durango. And the grapes thrive in this Paris, P-A-R-R-A-S, Paris Valley. And they're saying that there are places in the world that are fantastic, valleys that are fantastic for grape growing. Napa being one, and Bordeaux region being another one, and this valley. It's the climate is perfect. It has your temperature difference of about 22 degrees between day and night. It's beneficial to grapes is warm days, cool nights, low humidity, which helps inhibit insect and fungus damage. It is fed by mountain springs, so it has plenty of water, and so it is really one of the better regions in the world, they're saying, for grape growing. And it's at an elevation of, I think, let's see, I thought I saw something 5,000 feet, something like that. So it's a little bit higher elevation. So Mexican wines, it's amazing how much they've done. I mean, considering that they were quiet for almost 3 centuries because of an edict saying that they couldn't make wine, they've really expanded a lot. They are trying to work more and more on tourism because the grapes or the wines aren't being sold outside the country a lot. And they're trying to work more and more on tourism. Although I did look up Mexican wines where they're sold, and they really are speckled all over the place. You can probably go to your local wine shop or to a bigger one like Total Wines or something, and definitely find some Mexican wines because they are everywhere. I was surprised at how many Mexican wines are exported out of Mexico into different areas. And even around here, I've seen a lot of wine shops on the chart I was looking at, showed them around here. So it's something that will, I'm sure, continue to grow as Mexico is discovered more and more. But there's a lot of them out there, a lot of great Mexican wines and all sorts of different types, Merlots and Cabs and all sorts of different ones. And if you're in Mexico, and especially Baja California, excuse me, area, then it is a great area for growing and all sorts of stuff. It's just a big growing area. One thing I did find, though, that I'd never heard of before is agave wine. Yes, the same plant that makes tequila, agave wine, and it originates from Mexico. It's a fortified wine, and it's made from fermented blue agave. And then it's blended with Blanco tequila. And that's how it's fortified, fermented from the blue agave. It's similar to tequila in that it's harvested from the same plant, although the two alcoholic beverages come from the Weber blue agave plant. The drinks are pretty similar, but different flavors. It says agave wine has a much lower alcohol content and can be sold by vendors in the United States without an official liquor license. Also, like tequila, agave wine comes in 100% de-agave and mixto versions. 100% de-agave wine has long been used in traditional Mexican margaritas and is said to make margaritas that are as good, if not better, than traditional tequila-based margaritas. How about that? So, agave wine. I don't think I've ever seen agave wine. It says it is very popular in Mexico and it is growing in popularity in the United States. So you can look for that, AGAVE, agave wine. And so Mexican wines, it's fascinating, the history behind it and the stuff. I didn't get into some of the stuff I read here, but look it up yourself. Wikipedia has a great article on it, Mexican wines, and there's a lot of other different things about Mexican wines all over the web. But I think the best thing to do, and I know I'm going to, is go out and buy myself a bottle of Mexican wine and start giving it some tastings. And when I do, I will pass on my tasting notes to you and let you know about Mexican wines. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So 40% tax. You said on a 40%
tax. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. That's like criminal. When I heard that, I thought,
that is
why?
Criminal.
That's ridiculous. But Well,
it is, and no wonder, they're not doing. Although, restaurants, they said that it was unheard of for restaurants to carry their own Mexican wine, but now they're requesting it more and more. So they're eating the 40% tax and getting it in the restaurants. So,
wow.
But yeah, 40% tax, and I when I first saw that, I said, how can they compete against anything they do in Mexico? How can they compete against foreign wines if they're paying 40% tax on theirs?
Yeah.
But also Fountains of Wayne, the group. I don't know if you all remember that. I do. They sing a song called Mexican Wine. So it's so when you look up Mexican wine, be sure you skip over the Fountains of Wayne song and go to Mexican wine. So, all right.
Well, there we go. It's 8:04 p.m. Eastern Time for the live show. We will go ahead and close the show for the 21st of April and see you on the 28th, next Thursday. We're on live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time in the U.S. So if you're worldwide, you want to catch us live, that's the time to do it. So thank you all for tuning in, and I need to move a couple of things around so I can get to the folder. Oh, there it is. And thank you all. We'll talk to you next week, and have a great weekend, and be safe. Thank you.
And be safe. Thank you for listening.
Hey. I got to go over 3 monitors. There we go. Oh, I forgot to turn the unmute it. Hang on. Let me back that up. There we go.
Do that. Well, this switch.
This
Key the band.
It's my first day.
concludes tonight's broadcast of All About Wine with your host, Ron. For show information, links to All About Wine on Twitter and Facebook, or to be a guest on this show, visit the show website at www.allaboutwinebtr.com. Archived shows are available for download on iTunes or on our show page at blogtalkradio.com/allaboutwine. Thank you for listening. Drink responsibly, and we'll see you next time on All About Wine.
All About Wine.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention Amazon, too. We're also on Amazon Music. I still haven't found it, but according to them, we're on it. So I have to get the link.
On Amazon Music. Well, cool.
Yeah, I have to get the link. Okay. Oh, let me shut this off.